In a quiet corner of the city, inside a small, dimly lit room that smelled faintly of old wood and warm blankets, an elderly woman named Margaret lay still on her hospital bed. She had lived a long life, one marked by love, loss, faith, and countless quiet battles, but tonight felt different. Her breath was slower than usual, her hands colder, her eyes tired in a way that even she couldn't hide. She wondered if this would be the night her strength finally gave out. Have you ever watched someone you love reach the point where their spirit seems weaker than their body? Have you ever felt the fear of not knowing whether they'll wake up tomorrow? The room's silence held these questions like heavy shadows. Outside, the city moved on with its noise and neon lights, but inside room 214, time seemed to slow to a sacred pause. Margaret stared at the ceiling, recalling memories like old photographs. Her late husband laughing in the kitchen, her daughter's tiny hand wrapped around her finger, the days when she walked without a cane, prayed without trembling, hoped without fear. Now, she whispered, "Lord, are you still here with me?" Her voice was soft, fragile, almost carried away by the hum of the heart monitor beside her. She wondered, does God still hear the prayers of the old? Does he still see the tears that fall quietly in the dark? A chill moved through her chest, tightening her breath, and for a moment she closed her eyes, imagining herself drifting away like a leaf carried by a quiet stream. The night nurse had just stepped out, unaware that Margaret's heartbeat had begun to wobble like a candle in the wind. The hallway outside echoed faint footsteps fading into distance. Alone in the stillness, Margaret felt her heart whisper a truth she was afraid to speak. "I'm not ready to leave yet, but I'm too tired to stay." She felt the weight of loneliness press against her ribs, the ache of memories she wasn't ready to let go, the sting of wondering if God had moved too far to reach her. And then she thought again, what if this is the moment when heaven draws closer than ever before? What if God is nearer in the silence than in all the noise of my younger years? The room dimmed as the clouds outside swallowed the moonlight, and in the tender darkness, Margaret felt something, a warmth, faint at first, like a soft glow of dawn pressing gently through a window. She didn't see anything yet, didn't hear anything, but she felt a presence, steady and quiet, settling beside her frail body. Her heartbeat slowed, but not in fear. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes, not from pain, but from a strange, peaceful longing. Is this what it feels like when God prepares to visit a soul? When he steps into the room of someone who has carried decades of sorrow and hope on fragile shoulders? Margaret exhaled a shaky breath, the kind that carried years of burdens she didn't have the strength to name. "Lord, if you're here, stay with me," she whispered. And for the first time that night, her voice did not tremble. The next morning arrived quietly, the kind of morning that feels heavy before the sun even rises. Nurses walked in and out of Mr. Keller's room, doing their best to hide the concern in their eyes. Machines hummed softly beside him, each sound reminding everyone that his strength was slowly slipping away. But what no one noticed was that Mr. Keller wasn't afraid. In the secret place of his mind, he kept whispering the same words over and over again. "Lord, stay with me. Don't leave me in this valley alone." Isn't it strange how a person can look weak on the outside, yet carry a courage the world can't see? As he lay there, eyes half open, he remembered things he hadn't thought about in years. His daughter's laughter when she was little, the smell of his wife's cooking on Sunday afternoons, the long walks he used to take when his legs were still strong. And somewhere in those memories, a gentle warmth began to rise in his chest, a warmth that didn't feel like pain. It felt like God was sitting right beside him. Outside of his room, his daughter Anna paced back and forth, hands shaking as she tried to pray. But her voice kept breaking. "God, please, don't take him yet. Not like this." How many children have prayed the same prayer, hoping for one more day, one more smile, one more chance? When she finally gathered herself and walked back in, she noticed something different. Her father wasn't restless anymore. His breathing had calmed. His eyes were soft, peaceful, almost glowing with a quiet strength. "Dad, are you okay?" she whispered, and with the faintest breath, he whispered back, "I'm not alone. He's here." Anna froze, not because she understood everything, but because something in his voice didn't sound afraid anymore. Isn't it incredible how God can step into a room without making a sound, yet change everything inside it? Minutes passed like hours. The sky outside the window slowly shifted from gray to gold, and a soft beam of light fell across Mr. Keller's face. Anna sat beside him, holding his hand, tears slipping down her cheeks. She didn't know whether to be afraid or grateful, maybe both. Then something unexpected happened. Mr. Keller opened his eyes fully for the first time that morning. He turned his head toward Anna as if he suddenly had the strength of a younger man. "Anna, listen to me," he said gently. "You don't need to be brave for me. God hasn't abandoned us. Even here, even now. He's working." And for a moment, it felt like heaven itself leaned in closer. What if the miracle we're waiting for isn't always healing, but the peace that carries us through the hardest days? Anna leaned her head on her father's shoulder as machines continued their steady rhythm. And in that quiet moment, something shifted. Fear loosened its grip, and hope found its way back into the room. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in days, neither of them felt alone. As the night grew even quieter, Mrs. Evelyn found herself drifting between fear and a strange, gentle peace. The hospital lights hummed softly, casting long shadows across her room. She felt her breathing slow, not in a frightening way, but in a way that made her wonder, is this what it feels like when the soul grows tired? For a moment, she closed her eyes, letting her fragile body rest. Every breath felt like a small mountain to climb, and yet, deep inside, she sensed a presence, something she couldn't fully explain. She tried to lift her hand, but she couldn't. Even moving her fingers felt like trying to lift the whole world. Her chest ached. Her bones felt heavy. Her heart trembled under the weight of so many memories. Memories of long-forgotten laughter. Memories of raising her children. Memories of praying at her bedside when life was simpler. And she wondered, is anyone really ready for their final night? Or does every heart hope for one last miracle? Tears slipped from the corners of her tired eyes. Not tears of fear, but tears of longing. She whispered so softly that even she barely heard her own voice. "Lord, I don't know how much longer I can fight, but if you're near, please don't let me face this alone." And as the whisper faded into the room, something shifted. A breeze, impossible in a sealed hospital room, brushed gently across her face. It carried no sound, yet it quieted the entire atmosphere. Machines continued to beep, but their rhythm felt different, softer, calmer, almost protective. She sensed warmth on her shoulder, not from the blanket, not from the heater, but from a touch unlike any human hand. A touch that didn't take her pain away immediately, but held her pain with her, as if saying, "You don't have to carry this alone anymore." Suddenly, memories from her past flowed inside her mind, not harshly, but slowly, like pages turning. The night she stayed awake praying for her son during a storm. The moment she held her granddaughter for the first time. The day she stood in church after losing her husband, trying to sing through her grief. And through every memory, she saw something she hadn't seen before. She saw that she had never walked alone. She noticed the invisible thread of grace woven through every season of her life. Her breathing eased, her tears slowed, and a quiet thought filled her heart. Even at my weakest, He was always there. Then the room brightened. Not dramatically, no flashes, no bursts of light, but like someone turned a dimmer switch up slowly. A soft gold glow filled the edges of her vision. She opened her eyes, expecting a nurse, but instead saw something she could barely comprehend. A figure standing beside her bed, gentle, radiant, peaceful. No fear, no confusion, just warmth, just love. The kind of presence that makes your soul recognize the truth before your mind can name it. Her lips trembled. "Jesus, is that you?" She didn't hear a voice, but she felt an answer deep inside her chest, as if hope itself had spoken. He placed his hand over her heart, and the room became still, completely still. Time didn't stop, but the fear did. Her pain didn't vanish instantly, but the loneliness did. And in that silence, one question echoed in her mind. If Jesus is here with me, then what do I have to fear? Her breathing grew stronger. The weight on her chest lifted little by little. Her fingers twitched, not from weakness, but from returning strength. She felt light entering the places that had been dark for months. She felt courage rising in parts of her heart that had been silent for years. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, but undeniable. And Mrs. Evelyn realized something. Healing doesn't always arrive as a sudden miracle. Sometimes it comes as a whisper in the night, a hand over your heart, reminding you that God is still writing your story. She opened her eyes fully, and though her vision was blurred by tears, she knew this wasn't her last night. She wasn't leaving yet. God had more for her. More moments, more breaths, more mornings. She exhaled slowly, whispering, "Thank you for not forgetting me." And for the first time in many weeks, she fell asleep, not from exhaustion, but from peace. A deep, holy peace that wrapped around her like a blanket. A peace only Jesus can give.